On October 1st, 1961, the image of a young Pat Robertson was seen praying for the first time as broadcast locally from a fledgling television station in Virginia. M.G. Pat Robertson, a former U.S. Marine lieutenant and Korean War veteran with a law degree from Yale, had arrived in late 1959 after completing a Master of Divinity from the New York Theological Seminary. Pat had formed the Christian Broadcasting Network in January 1960 using money he raised after arriving in Virginia with his wife Dee Dee, 3 children, and not more than $70 in his pocket. Few would have guessed that what Pat Robertson started then would become one of the largest broadcast and ministry concerns in the world. As the CBN television and radio network grew around the world, reaching millions of people, Pat developed many other organizations such as CBN News, CBN International, International Family Entertainment Inc., The Family Channel, the American Center for Law and Justice, the Christian Coalition, and many more, including Operation Blessing International Relief and Development Corporation, which has touched the lives of more than 193 million people in 96 countries, providing hunger relief, medical aid, disaster relief, and community development. With a desire to train successive generations, in 1978, Pat formed a school known today as Regent University, which now offers more than 70 graduate and undergraduate degrees. A friend to world leaders and people of influence, Pat's own influence as a voice for Judeo-Christian values has increased over the years as well. A faithful Bible teacher throughout his life, Pat has been especially passionate about God's eternal promises to the Jewish people and to Israel.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been to Israel many times. I've lost count of how many times. But I was here in Christmas Day of 1974, and it was my pleasure at that time to do a television interview with then Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. And as I talked to him, it was during the height of the oil embargo, and I sensed in his eyes and in his voice a profound sadness. And I also sensed that Israel at that time was very much alone. When I left his office, I went to the Intercontinental Hotel that was located on the Mount of Olives, and we had a large group from America with us. And as I looked down on those big picture windows over the illuminated Temple Mount, I made a vow before God that whatever happened, however unpleasant it might be, whatever enemies might arise, whatever the cost, that I and the ministries that I was in charge of would stand with Israel. And ladies and gentlemen, after 30 years, I'm pleased to say I have kept that pledge. We've stood with Israel.
Over the years since then, Pat has indeed kept that pledge, telling Israel's story to tens of millions around the world, even establishing a permanent news desk there in Israel in the year 2000. With special reports and interviews, Pat has given the leaders of Israel opportunity to share the message of Israel, even as other media outlets have distorted the truth.
We're here at Yad Vashem, which is a place of great mourning and a great significance. I guess the posture of Israel is never again.
Looking back, and it happened that over 65 years ago, I was born here in Jerusalem. I fought in the 2 wars that decided the fate of Jerusalem to become the capital of the state of Israel. And I believe that they'll never be able to fulfill what they try to achieve, as long as we'll keep our powder dry, our belief unshaken, and we'll have the patience to do what our heritage, religion call us to do.
Time and again, Operation Blessing has responded to Israel's needs with medical services, food distribution, provision of needed toiletries and supplies, school funding, and even aid for rebuilding and reforestation after rocket attacks. Pat has taught about support for Israel to millions of Christians. He has taken thousands of them there in person, and millions have visited Israel via television. And now, through the education of new generations, Pat's passion for Israel will continue as young scholars are trained to have an educated heart for Israel. Tonight, we are pleased to establish in his honor the Pat Robertson Israel Experience Scholarship.